Yeah, episode 12. This is Quasar with Fries. This is our first episode back after all the holiday stuff.
Prolonged break, yeah.
Long break. My name is Rich. This is Wayne.
What's up, guys?
Um, yeah, so the first it was kind of an eventful holiday for sure. Lots of good stuff with family and all that, but I ended up coming
Mhm.
down with shingles, which is not fun. I ended
Do
up
not
with
recommend.
yeah, do not recommend. Negative 3 stars for shingles.
As it turns
Oh,
out.
yeah,
Just in
not
case anyone was
cool.
curious.
And I had it on my eyeball too, so that's super fun. I went to the eye doctor yesterday for follow-up, and they apparently have a little bit of scarring on my cornea, so now I have to go to a specialist. Anyway, what I would tell
Oh,
everybody
cool.
is get the shingles vaccine. Don't fuck
Yes.
around, seriously.
No.
I do
Yeah.
have to bleep myself out.
It's okay.
So then I got the flu after that, and then after that, I finally started to clear up, and now here we are. Now I feel like February 1st can be my actual day that I kick off my new regimen of food and things.
Mm.
How about you, Wayne? How was your holiday? Anything crazy go on? Everybody healthy?
Yeah, no, fantastic. We got snow, so I live in Alabama, so we had an actual legit couple of snow days here, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, so that was great. And then one thing that I did notice, you mentioned February 1st, and I don't know if I'm just like getting old and grumpier, and I'm sure some of that is part of it, but it's kind of like I feel like, and maybe this is just because of remote work or just kind of the proliferation of remote work, but it's just like, have you noticed this where it just feels like nobody is back until mid February?
Yeah. Yeah, basically from
Thanksgiving.
November 1st, because it's after Halloween, and we all know, like, oh, now Thanksgiving is next, and then all of a sudden you just see the stores are all covered in holiday crap, the grocery stores
Mhm.
are covered in holiday crap, like, everything's got holiday already ramping up, and then you make it to Thanksgiving, that's a big hoo-ha for a lot of people, and then, after that, it's just all about Christmas, and everybody mentally on December 1st just shuts down, and then, yeah, I remember coming back, January 2nd,
Yeah, me too.
to work and stuff, and I'm like, "There's no
No one's here.
energy anywhere." Nobody's like
Yeah.
there's the energy is just not present, and, there were definitely some people that took some vacations. They opted for taking a vacation in January instead
Mhm.
of the holiday stuff,
Yeah, I
our
think that
homie,
is
but
becoming more common
it
is
is.
that, for folks to kinda take a big chunk of time in January and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but it's kinda like, yeah, I don't know, and again, a lot of the folks that we talk to on a regular basis where we work are remote, yeah, I don't know, I think that when everybody was going back into the office, right? Like, if you were in an office and you're working with people who were all in the office, it was just, yeah, you're back to work on the 2nd or the 5th or whatever, random odd numbered day it was that you were coming back after Christmas, and then work resumed, but, like, that's kind of like a new normal now where it's like the last half of the 4th quarter and the first half of the 1st quarter are just like a
Kind of a wash. I
ghost
think
town.
I think people are just kind of, burnt out, not necessarily on their jobs,
Yeah.
but, like, just burnt out on our surrounding culture and on the internet, and everybody's just kinda just done with it for a little while. Like, one of the things that I like the most about the holidays is because I tend to not be on my phone as much and just, like,
Mhm.
be actually living in the moment, and, it was a nice break to not be all super uber plugged in on all fronts. Because I got tons of creative projects where I'm collaborating with people just personally with music and
Yeah.
whatever, and then you have work, so there's more social media notifications and alerts coming in all the time, and it's like by the time I hit the
Yeah.
holiday, I'm dragging my feet coming back into the fray,
I think if anyone feels this kind of like holiday thing though, the absence of contact, I think it would be freelancers, and because I know with some of like the freelance stuff that I've done over the years, that has gotten like getting anyone, like if you're doing freelance work and you're on contract with like a certain company, or you're doing, any kind of like video work or photography or stuff like that, getting literally anyone
Yeah.
at a lot of these companies between Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day is impossible.
I know, dude.
Complicating things is like there's like trade shows in January,
Yeah, you got
and
CES, you
like
got
and people
a
are like,
couple
"Oh yeah, I'm
others.
totally out of hand for the first 30 days of the year because of CES." And it's like, CES is like the first
It's the
week of
first
January.
week.
Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Right. But yeah, no, I don't know. Again, like I think it is like it would be, or like, for freelancers in general, or for remote workers, whatever. But like for freelancers, where it's like you're talking about like, oh, I guess we're just gonna have to like pencil in like I'm not gonna make any money for the first 2 months of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, that's
You know?
totally true. I have a friend who's a, 100% full-time freelancer guy. He's got a couple good retainers, which he's fortunate to have and grateful to have. But
Mhm.
yeah, the holiday hits, and everybody who has a corporate day job, they're like, "I am out of here." And they're just like
Please do
cutting
not
out,
email me.
dropping it all. And then like
Yeah.
anything that they had started with you that they were all fired up about, they start
Oh,
getting unfired
done.
up about about
Yeah. I will
mid-November.
see you in March.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just kind of like, but I think the part of me that gets a little frustrated is because like, you're not gone until March. You're
Yeah.
there. You're doing stuff. You
And I
you
know
don't
you're
have
coming
that many
back on
days.
January 2nd, bro. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Technically.
But I'm gonna act like I'm not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very straight. It's I but part of me thinks too is like maybe that's a good thing for those folks because they're kind of limiting themselves to like, okay, between this time and this time, I'm only talking to people who are inside the company.
Yeah.
I'm gonna focus on that, and then I'll start doing all my external communications. I don't know if that's the right thing, but I feel like it's where we've gotten,
Yeah. Yep.
is that we know you're not off. No one has 90 days of
Yeah,
vacation.
totally, especially not America.
Right.
No, nobody gets 90 days.
Even folks that are working at like unlimited vacation workplaces, that's not a real
Dude,
thing. Like you can't just take 90 days
in
off.
America, you can't even take 90 days off if you're unemployed, okay? That's how bad
Or
it
if
is
you've,
here.
had a child,
Uh,
or
yeah, exactly.
especially if you've had a child, get your
Yeah.
ass back in
Get
there.
back to work right now, immediately. Your child will raise itself anyway, don't worry about it.
We probably need to edit that
We're gonna
out.
replace your child with AI, so it's all good.
Yeah,
Speaking
no.
of AI,
FMLA is
yeah.
totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
So, crazy town AI up and down swings in the stock market, and oh
Yeah,
my
man.
gosh. So, DeepSeek, China-based company, small company, out of nowhere, uh, a couple announcements I saw about it, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around why they're being considered to be such a disruptor. And I think it has to do with power consumption. Maybe you can speak more to that. But Nvidia lost like what, half a
Mhm.
billion dollars in like 24 hours as far as
Yep,
market cap goes.
yep.
Um, but what other things did you learn about DeepSeek that could have been a reason for them to have that kind of negative impact on the competition? Because I just didn't see anything that newsworthy about DeepSeek in
No.
general.
Yeah, no, everyone, it's God, one of these weird, like, I saw someone say this, and I was just like, man, I hardcore relate to this, but it was like they work at a tech publication, just covering tech, and their response to this whole thing was, "I'm glad I'm still off for the next week, and that I won't have to care about any of this deep seek stuff until then." Like, because it's
Huh.
like, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
this is a news cycle because when you open Threads or Blue Sky and literally everyone is talking about this thing,
Yeah.
some kind of machine is at work pumping, the public awareness of this thing. So it's some of it is PR, some of it is marketing, and a lot of it was the market has just been so over invested I mean, bubble, not bubble, whatever you wanna call it. There's
Yeah.
just so much money going into AI in general right now, and up until until stuff like this happens, NVIDIA is the company that benefits the most from it because they are the infrastructure that AI is built on top of, and so for a
Right.
long time, the general knowledge was nobody makes better AI chips than NVIDIA. I mean, it's not even really like a nobody. It's like they AMD and Intel are not even really in the discussion
Yeah,
when it
AMD
comes
is
to
the
like
closest, but they're still
yes,
so far away.
so far away. Like
Yeah,
NVIDIA is, I mean, they're the leader in making the chips and the cards that are powering single-handedly powering AI right now. And so the
yeah.
news with DeepSeek, it's like you said, they're not open source, they're open weighted because we don't know they have not shared the here's the data set that the AI model was trained on. So we can't just take it. Open source means we can here's everything. Here's the source code, here's how we did it, and you can make your own. Right. And then brand it whatever you want to. It's open weighted because we don't have the exact data set. We know that they started with Meta's Llama LLM, large language model, and then which is open source to a degree as well. And then they built from there. But the big news is that they have built a reasoning AI model, kind of like ChatGPT o1, that is super cheap to operate.
Yeah,
And meaning not using nearly as much NVIDIA processing power as ChatGPT is currently using right now. It's reasoning models using right now, and so the market's going, oh wait, maybe Nvidia is not super important to reaching general artificial intelligence
yeah.
as we thought it was, and so Nvidia loses a bunch of money. Um, my kind of takeaway on all of this stuff is unanimous. I didn't see on Threads or Blue Sky or wherever you want Reddit, wherever you want to look. I didn't see a single person go, "Yeah, just tried out DeepSeek and it's awesome."
I know.
It
Yeah,
was all people going, "This just hallucinated 7 paragraphs of nonsense."
yeah.
Or I asked it this very simple question and it flat out just made stuff up. Didn't like go, "I don't know." It just was like confidently making things up. So that's the first thing. That I have seen nothing but negative I'm not downloading it or using it myself for reasons. But I've seen nothing but negative reactions about it. The
Yeah,
second reaction that I saw was we have really no idea how forthcoming they're being on any of the stuff they have provided through
yep.
the open weights process. Um, and then C, rather than NVIDIA taking, you still need NVIDIA. Okay, so NVIDIA is going to be fine. They lost $300 billion 6 7 months ago. Immediately recovered all of it. This is 500 billion. These are at some point though. These numbers CNBC and MSNBC and all of Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal, they go 500 billion. Like it, but it doesn't. In the context of AI, what does it even mean
Yeah,
anymore?
it
That
doesn't
companies are
mean anything, like, when you're w
taking these
when
market cap hits.
yeah, this isn't like liquid cash, you
R
know?
right, right? So, like, I'm sure they'll make it all back. The S&P 500 was I don't know if it's technically up again today, but, like, the S&P 500 basically for the last, like, several months has been as it goes as, this as AI goes, because the majority of the S&P 500, they're the top 10 are all, like, the big AI involved tech companies, and so, like,
Yeah,
S&P 500 was up yesterday, it's probably up again today. So, I mean, I NVIDIA is not going anywhere. To me, if any of this is true, that they were able to get, let's just say they were able to like bootstrap together a moderately acceptable AI or LLM out of this whole thing. To
yeah.
me, the takeaway is it can be done for cheap and maybe we don't need as much processing maybe we don't need as much processing power as we thought we would for smaller models or less
Right.
complex models, which means that the stuff on our phones, the stuff in our speakers, maybe that stuff could get a lot better
That's
in the
what I'm
near
hoping,
future
to be honest.
as fast as possible. But I mean, yeah, it's just that this thing is another news cycle, and then the whole stuff about it coming from China and the obvious concerns there around security and
Security, yeah.
privacy, and I mean, I'm not putting it on my phone, but
I don't need to, dude. I don't need any more
right.
tools. Like,
Yeah, and there's plenty of people on the internet who have tried and then gone, "Yeah, it sucks."
it's like, "Oh, yeah,
So,
you already have 35 crescent wrenches. Do you want another one?"
how about
Our
anything?
crescent wrench, dude, it's amazing.
Well, see, there is a little bit of that going on now with the models, right? Like, I love ChatGPT, for what it is. I mean, I don't pay for it. I mean, yet, I'm not saying that I never would, but, like, I do use it quite a bit. I
Yeah,
will tell you that I switched I don't use Google anymore. I switched to Kagi, which is I think I pay $10 a month,
yeah,
for a search engine that, works. And that's a crazy concept that doesn't serve me ads every 3 lines
yeah,
of text on the page.
yeah. Almost all of
Um,
page 1 of Google is ads right now. It's insanity.
yeah,
Like,
or bad.
the bottom 2 to 3 entries that are organic. I'm like, "You know how many people are paying millions and millions and millions of dollars every quarter to try to be on this first page, and you're just shoving them down
Yeah,
to, like, you got a page down to the bottom, like, 4 times over just to get there, and then there's, like, 3 organic links."
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, and the thing that I love about Kagi is that Kagi also they've kind of forked ChatGPT or AGPT, and so, like, if you wanna, like, ask a question and get, like, AI results, and unlike Google where it's like, "You're getting AI, and you're liking it."
Yeah.
And also, it's not gonna be good. It sucks. It's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
give you a really bad or obvious answer or whatever the link directly under it is.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know what that.
they can just say we're Google, so just like it,
Yeah.
just
So you'll use it because you're so trained at typing in Google or it's your
yeah.
homepage or it's just what happens when you type anything into your iPhone. But like with Kagi, I can invoke AI results by just going question mark at the end of my search query. So that's actually decreased my use of GPT quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
Is how good Kagi is as a search engine and a product overall.
How do you spell that? Coggy?
Kagi, and it's got like a privacy focus, and again they make their money on you pay for it, which is, I know, a crazy thought, but for a tech company to be like, what if we made our money from people paying for stuff?
Yeah, instead of just
um
on, like, ad revenue.
right. So I use that quite a bit, and I love that service. Highly recommend. I know a lot of people are like, "I'm not paying for a search engine." You do you, bro.
Yeah.
But I know that the utility for me is up there.
It just depends on
Um,
how you work, that's all. I
yeah,
mean,
for sure.
yeah.
For sure. And I still use GPT for some things. I do the whole I love sometimes there's certain things where I'm like, I don't want to type anything. And so like the conversational mode in Chat GPT, I
Yeah.
freaking love it.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
think it's fantastic. Um, a lot of times if I'm like me and my kid are sitting talking about like a book she's reading or like an animal she wants to know more about, it's fantastic because you can like ask it a question and then my kid's able to like just jump in
Yeah,
and it's like a give and take type. That is
and
incredible.
add more questions to
Yeah,
the thread and stuff. Yeah, totally.
that's fantastic. So I'm
Yeah.
not like an anti language model person or anything. I'm just highly skeptical of anything that's
Yeah.
just like you've never heard of this, but now for 72 straight hours, you're going to hear about how maybe it's about to tank the entire market.
Right.
And to
But
me,
with no substantial information to really back that.
none,
Yeah. That's
none.
the thing I can't stand is if, good news, bad news, or, fake news, it's all just,
Yeah.
like, bouncing around this giant, echo chamber. So it's and then you have, like, the stock market
Yes.
listening to that echo chamber,
Yes.
and it's like,
And again,
there's
the
nothing
stock market is not
substantial going
rational.
on. No, it's
I
not
I think a
rational at
lot of
all.
people I think a lot of people out there think that money in the stock market moves around after much deliberation and rational thought and critical thinking. No.
Yeah,
The stock market is an emotional creature. It does what it wants.
yeah,
It reacts wildly. It reacts randomly. When it sees stuff like this, it freaks out, which
Yeah,
is why Nvidia lost, almost $600 billion worth of market cap yesterday.
yeah,
That's how the stock market works. Um, so the stock market right now can't decide if it wants AI to be a bubble or if it doesn't want AI to be a bubble. And it
yeah,
also can't decide if a bubble is good or if a bubble is bad. Like it doesn't. So yeah, I mean that is a lot of money, six hundred
yeah.
billion dollars, right? So it's not nothing, but at the same time, it's like none
But
of
what does it
this
mean,
has made any sense
Yeah,
so
exactly.
far.
That's my biggest takeaway is the fact that I don't have much to take away from it. I'm like,
No,
what does this what does this mean in the grand scheme of things? It doesn't mean really. It means you have a bunch of people who aren't really that technically savvy pushing portfolio pieces around while they're just watching the news, like the news fluctuate all over the place
yeah,
around this topic, so whatever. Over
you
it.
have to keep that in mind. Is that the majority of the people who are, that are buying and selling, they don't understand. They were just informed that DeepSeek is just as good as Model O one,
Yeah. So like, okay, I'm gonna throw $100,000 at it right now. Go.
and it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing is because like, I haven't seen anything. I mean, and it's been. I feel like it's been long enough.
Yeah.
If there were some kind of like, actually, this thing is way better than, like, it's so far beyond. And see, the coverage that I was seeing suggested to me that, oh wait, is there some kind of like model breakthrough here
Yeah.
where it's as good or better? And instead, what I got was, this sucks,
Yeah.
or we don't really know if it's good or bad.
I've only
Like,
seen the line about less uh more computing, less GPU usage, but
yes,
I don't
which
know.
would be cheaper. And again, one of the big things that is pushing AI investment is that it's going to make things cheaper
Yeah.
and
Yep.
more efficient to run and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, I mean, the to me, if there's like a hopeful silver lining around this news cycle with DeepSeek, is that hopefully this means that reaching AGI. But here's the other thing about AGI. So AGI is artificial general intelligence. That is
Right.
not. It months and months ago, AGI was like the singularity. Okay,
Right.
that's what it was being billed as. Is that AGI is when the computers are able to reason like people,
Yep.
basically,
Yep.
right? And then it's not technically the singularity. I'm not going to get into all of that. But now the goalposts. Sam Altman moved the goalposts, and it's like, oh, we're going to reach AGI in like 18 months or whatever he said. It's very soon, very soon. Actually, AGI. Actually, he kind of like, AGI isn't that hard. AGI isn't that impressive.
Yeah.
It's like, but dude, you were saying AGI was this, and he's like, yeah, but actually it's this,
Yeah.
and that because
I know.
getting there sooner benefits OpenAI
Yeah.
tremendously,
Yeah.
right? To reach AGI, and so like that's literally what DeepSeek said their mission statement was: we're going to reach AGI, right? That's the whole point of this company, was
Yeah.
reaching AGI. It's like, well, you're nowhere close to AGI
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Also,
Probably
what
by
is
a
AGI?
probably by a fucking, 50 years, you're not close to it. So, like, the way that
Right.
they're talking about it and what it could turn into, I'm sorry, but, like, we're not there. We're not
No.
even, like,
Well, that's why they're moving the field goals.
we've
They're
yeah.
we are though, Rich. It's just you guys didn't understand what we meant when we said AGI the first time.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yes, yeah.
Right.
Because 'Cause I've never from the tech industry, which I've been a part of almost 30 years myself, I've never ever seen somebody come out with a totally inflated announcement about something that's supposed to happen next week and then doesn't show up for 15 years, but okay.
Mhm. Well, and it was kind of like when it didn't affect the money, it was, "Oh, we're so far away from it."
Yeah.
But now that the money's like, "You got about 20 minutes to get AGI
Up and
on my
running. Yeah,
doorstep, or I'm
exactly.
pulling all of the money." Well, then
Yeah.
it's kinda like, "Oh, we're so close. We're so close."
Yeah.
Actually, you don't even want AGI. Who even wants it? I don't want it. Do you guys still want it? Because it's really not all that it's cracked up to be.
Yeah,
That's what the discourse around it has become. Um, so I mean, I don't know. The whole bubble conversation, I think, is like,
that's the bigger one.
right?
That's
Because
the
it's kind
bigger
of like,
one.
how long
Yeah,
is this going to go on? How many more of these news cycles are we going to have to sit through?
yeah,
I mean, but look, if you're invested in the S&P 500 in any kind of way, whether it's your IRA or it's your retirement or it's your, your the money that you're just, your day trading investment money or whatever. I mean, and honestly, if you're just like interested in the US economy doing well, I mean, you kind of need to be rooting for this because right now the other worrisome thing about this is that AI is a US export.
right,
Like we've got it cornered.
right.
It's running on, our innovation
U.S.
and
companies,
American
yeah,
and US
hardware. Yep,
companies, right?
yep.
Um, for a Chinese company to come in and be like, "Here's a free one." Someone said yesterday, "Is like, yeah, basically China's come in and they've tanked the market." Well, they're trying to tank the market. I mean,
Yeah,
who knows if it actually has tanked the market? But that is another worrisome aspect of
yeah.
this. You kind of need to be if you're hoping for the U.S. economy to do well right now, you're kind of rooting for
For this to
AI to
work
do well
out, yeah,
for this to work
yeah.
out.
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like the DeepSeek thing is, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like that was a test. That it
Hmm.
was they were testing a response to something, like, in an industry that's, like, super hot, that the US is killing it in. It's like, let's dangle this, potential competitor, out of nowhere and just see how it affects everything, and, oh, it affected things, quite
Quite a
a
bit.
bit. Yeah, so note to self on their end, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that there's a competitive race, globally with technology, which has never gone away, and that's cool. That's normal stuff or whatever. But I think that countries now, like with the technology race in particular, which is essentially China versus the US. I think that there's
Mhm.
in India, they definitely got some interesting stuff going on, but the heated race right now is like China and the US when it comes to tech. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to be surprised if we start seeing really, really weird things show up in the news where you're like, wow, somebody's trying to do that. That's interesting. Because people are testing responses. I mean, having worked in social media for so long, my entire
Yeah.
job is testing responses to types of content, types of news, types of whatever to see which zingers stick without me selling my soul to the devil, you know?
Right.
But these
Yeah, no,
guys,
100%.
but usually in corporate America, those guys don't care about selling their soul. So there's like, how can I make more money off of this? But
Well, and then you think about, like, another one of the other items that we had here is related to that, but, like, Meta announcing and really just trying to shove some of this is looking for justification or proof that AI is paying off, is the
yeah,
investment is paying off. So Meta is just shoving Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan's podcast and talked about how I can't remember what percentage of mid-level. He was like, pretty soon the AI is going to be a mid-level coder,
yeah. It
right? Smart
won't be
enough
a
to where we can
human.
just
Yeah,
you won't need human mid-level coders anymore
yeah.
or something like that.
It'll be
60%.
it'll be
I don't know.
somebody. It'll be a manager, like a senior level person, just
Yeah,
making sure that certain numbers are met
sure. Right.
while AI is doing its thing under
So
them.
they love that because that
Yeah,
means they can pay less people.
yeah, exactly.
So the market loves that type of stuff, right? And then
Well, that other story about the profiles.
the profiles, right? And that's kind
Yeah,
of like the other side of this coin, right? Is like not only that, but we don't even care
yeah,
if you're John Gruber made a really good point yesterday when he was talking about that DeepSeek rose to the top of the App Store, and he's like, "Where's Facebook?
yeah,
Where's that app?" And he's like, "Threads is still in the top 10. Facebook is number 32. Was at the time it was like the number 32 app
yeah,
in the world or in the US, sorry, downloaded app. So like like how much longer does Facebook as a app have left? Uh, so
yeah. We'll see.
they're basically saying like, well, we don't even care if you're on Facebook or not. We'll just fill it with AI profiles.
Yeah. So on that note, the Zuckerberg basically said, so here, this is what I can't stand because I know what this really means. So, in the
Yes.
article that I read, it says, while some are unsure about mixing AI with real users, Meta believes these bots will keep people more active online by boosting follower counts and offering personalized interactions. Here is what is going on, in my opinion. So, we're all of us have already seen bots online that are posting content that triggers people. It gets them to interact. And if you know anything about the internet at all, you understand that the entire internet is built on ad revenue. All the services we use, all the places we buy from, everything eventually comes back to ad revenue for somebody. And what you can, so if you run this out, say you say Meta puts 100 bots into the fray and gives them each profiles that fit a bunch of demographics, like this person is super left wing, they're LGBT, they're whatever, and then you also, the other half is like, we're going to put in a whole bunch of super conservative bots who are anti what these other bots are, and they're going to drop them all into the fray, right? And
Mhm.
then if those if those bots start interacting with real people, but saying things that trigger them to comment more, to like more, to engage more, to share more, and basically cause more strife, all that means is this is basically how Meta is going to print more money for themselves
Yeah.
with that ad revenue. That's how I see it. So put
Yeah.
these bots in there, they'll trigger more conversations. I feel like they're considering doing that because they haven't told everybody that advertising is down.
Right.
I bet you it's not
Well,
doing as well, and I can tell you from experience that with my business page for my studio, I probably put in 7 to 8 grand since 2015 in advertising, and, I have a pretty good organic following, but still, if I share something, all 80,000 of my fans on my page don't see it.
no.
6%. I
That's
heard
by
that
design,
the
right?
average
Yeah.
was like 3 to 6% of your fans might see it.
Right.
And
Might.
if anybody doesn't engage, even though they like your content, but they just they're more like voyeuristic about it, that's not enough to give you any algorithmic love. So you just stay down there unless you're willing to throw thousands and thousands and $1,000 a month at Meta for advertising to go test out your content here and test it out there and build 55 new audiences in their ad platform to test them all out and pay them for it. It's like
Right. I mean,
these
I
bots
don't
are going to like
understand
amplify that, I think.
I don't understand how this is any different than when they got in trouble years ago for basically lying about video view counts.
I don't
Like,
remember that. What did they get busted for?
so this was it was a while back, but I don't know if it's been 10 years, but it was when like the big video push was going on, and they basically a bunch of places figured out that that Facebook was misreporting video view counts to like inflate the numbers or whatever. I don't see how this to basically kind of keep people feeding, coins into the slot for boosting videos. So you're like, oh, I got this, and I got 10,000 more video views or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so like, I don't see how this is any different than that. Except now they're gonna be like, yeah, we're basically just going to fake engagement
Yeah.
for
The,
you.
they can trigger everybody. It was like I was telling you before, like I was in this I got this, and I know that people on Facebook and probably other groups have seen this, but where you have a group that has nothing to do with politics. For me, it's music related usually. And then all of a sudden, a random account shows up that is the name of a polarizing figure. In this case, it was Ellen DeGeneres with just with an E profile pic. It didn't even have her actual photo. So, it's a bot or whatever, right? They'll drop one super strong triggering piece of content into a group that's totally irrelevant to what the group's supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And then within a day, they'll drop in a totally opposing view piece of content from that other thing that triggered people. And then if you look at the engagement on both of those pieces of content, everybody is completely enraged for opposite reasons, just responding to this content as like a knee-jerk reaction because it
Yeah.
showed up in their feed. And it's like now you can't even hide from it. Now they're proliferating a lot of these groups that are meant to not be angry and crazy. They're meant to just talk about passions and hobbies and stuff like that, and
Right.
now they're getting taken over, and
Well,
bots
people will
can do
do
that shit, you
whatever
know?
they have to do. And it's not even just bots.
It's people too, for
It's
sure.
people.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I were talking recently about some just kind of like where I'd had an experience where like my Instagram algorithm all of a sudden just like, I got you. Like I
Yeah.
know who you are and I know what you want to watch. And it was very jarring for me to the point where I haven't even been back on
Yeah.
because it changed so drastically. And it was just showing me like very similar things. This is on Reels. Very similar things, and like where it just like it decided like, oh, he loves this type of stuff. We're just gonna give it to him one after the next.
Yeah.
Um, and we were talking about like something I saw that was cringe or that I thought was cringe. And then we started to discuss basically like, is the person doing it because they think it's good, but it's actually cringe? Or are they trying to do something cringe
Yeah,
and they
because
know what they're doing?
it draws an
Right.
engagement. It makes people go, "Oh my god, that's so cringy," and then you have 100,000 people commenting saying, "Oh my gosh, it's so cringy," and then you have other people that are like, "I'm gonna follow them because they keep being cringy," and then all of a sudden they're
Yeah.
monetizing that traffic, and then
And then
it
there it's just you watch the sociology in the
Yes.
comment sections go like exactly like you said, person making fun of them. Person making fun of them who is also subscribed to get these videos because they just love making fun of them and dropping the same, insult in the
Yeah.
comments every time they post a video.
Yep.
And then there's like the people that are like, I recognize that this is a meme at this point and I'm just following for the meme. And I'm actually going to interact and encourage this person. And they think that they're doing some kind of good. Like, hey, what would you like? I saw some videos of like this older couple and again, I don't know how in on it they are, but, like, they seem to be enjoying the attention, is all that I can gather from it.
Yeah.
So, like, there's an older couple who puts these weird videos out where it's like, how kind of like what it would look like if someone was like, they told you they were taking a photo, but they were really taking a video?
Yeah.
So what would you do? You would just be kinda sitting there still to let them take a photo.
Yeah.
That's what these videos look like. And and so I don't know, there was probably some kind of like they posted it and then it got this crazy reactions and then these older folks, retired folks started making more of these videos because they were being asked to make more of them.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah, you're like, "You're
So
retired. Get out of here. Get off the
like just
internet."
so they post them because again, I think they just like the attention that they're getting from younger
Sure.
people.
Yeah.
And
I
so then you have people who are like, where you can't tell who are commenting, like asking them questions of like, wow, how was the food at that place? Like, are you trying to have a relationship with this person? Like,
dude,
what are these comments? So like
yeah. I
we're
think
already in this uncanny ick place
yeah,
with so much of this content
and
that
this has been said for a long time, but, by many, many people, but we are the most connected, disconnected phase of
mm,
humanity right now. You know, like, everything
yeah,
feels very I've felt many times where I have alerts coming in and conversations going on with people online, simultaneous conversations, and I get done at the end of the day, and I'm exhausted from the
yes.
dopamine hits, like
Mhm.
I'm hungover from it, you know, and, like, there was something that my
Because you
wife
can't help how your monkey brain and again, I was literally just about to say this, but, like, our monkey brains are not, for lack of a better word, are not equipped yet to deal with the fire hose of the internet,
Yeah,
with the notifications that come in on our phones. You can't tell your brain when it sees something that makes you mad, "Don't be mad, brain. It's not worth it,"
yeah. Well, especially
you
if you
know,
have 20 of those things coming at you at
at
once.
one time. So
That's
you've
crazy, and
yeah.
my wife, she was listening to a podcast, and, um, they were talking about it was this doctor, and he's like the human body every day, and it gets less and less as we get older, the human body is allocated a certain amount of dopamine for use that day. So, if you're online constantly, you're on your phone constantly, you can tap yourself out before the day's even done. So the by
Yeah,
the
you
time
can.
you get to the afternoon, the evening, you're like a zombie, like, you don't have the energy to talk to people in your house because 'cause you're so wiped out mentally from all the input and the dopamine hits from somebody liking something or sharing it or responding to your thing, and you're getting more alerts, blah, blah, blah. That's all dopamine hits being used up, and you only
Yeah.
get so much every day, so be careful about how you choose to use that, and that's where my concern is a lot for the kids because they're
Yeah.
developing brains, they're developing chemicals, and electrical impulses are going to form around these types of habits, which is gonna leave them, I think one of the byproducts of what I'm talking about is cortisol. Basically, you get an accumulation of that in place of the running out of dopamine, so you feel like garbage all the time, and you don't understand that it's coming from things that have been depleted in your brain.
Yeah.
And it's a really tough thing to escape nowadays. I hope we figure it out, but I mean, I can't tell you how many Gen Xers I know. All of us are like, I just want to get off the internet. Like retirement to me means doesn't mean I'm not working. Retirement to me means I don't have to be on the internet anymore and I don't have to be on this phone anymore. That would be retirement.
Well, and that is definitely, I would say, I mean, as a millennial, I relate to that, and I think that that is shared between our generations. It is
Yeah,
not something the younger generation shares,
no.
and I think some of it's too just because they were kind of raised in it and kind of born in it, and
Yeah.
it's like just the way that their social circle works. And I mean, speaking of dopamine hits, I mean, the U.S. passed a law to ban TikTok and then didn't do it. So for I just like decided that it was gonna ban it, and then they were like, we know we signed this whole thing into law, but
That
really,
that
so
was weird.
now it's under
Yeah, I don't
the
know.
whole thing is very
That was
bizarre. It
super
doesn't
weird.
make
I mean,
really any sense.
and I won't express my political opinions on this show, but one thing that was odd was they took it down and
Well,
our
they took it down.
yeah.
TikTok decided, and the whole thing was a stunt. It was a stunt.
Yeah, the it was a PR stunt basically, and the next day it comes back online and you're like, "Okay." Just like
Right.
that, you know? Yeah, so really how threatened is it? Right now,
Yeah, I mean,
all I'm thinking is everybody's trying to figure out before they finally acquire TikTok in the US, there's a bunch of, like, billionaires butting heads on who gets to make money off of this moving forward before we actually
right.
see it, like, work itself out.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, even if you don't care about the privacy stuff and whatever, I mean, live your life. Even if you don't care about any of that and you're cool with, uh, I do think there are positives, obviously, and that there's a lot of people that get a lot of enjoyment out of it and they don't want to see it go.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a little few too many people who base their personality around it, but whatever. I'm not a psychiatrist. The thing that concerns me and that I would I would like, and we'll talk, this is kind of like the main nugget of this episode, is really kind of like, what how are these dopamine hits? How are specifically the incentives of what these dopamine hits, the incentives of delivering the dopamine hits, let's just say that. Like the incentives of, here's what the algorithm is willing to reward you with for
Right.
creating content that it deems acceptable to deliver to other users of the app. What are
Yep.
these incentives doing to the overall conversation that we're having, not just with our friends, but with people we don't know, the conversations that we're having with ourselves? Um, and like, the thing that makes me feel kind of like about this whole thing is exactly what you just keyed in on with with regard to TikTok, is that you've got like it's a state-owned app. So you've got the Chinese government that owns this app. They've been told by probably their most important customer, the United States, that, hey, we're not cool with the way this works, with the fact that we don't know where the data is being housed, et cetera, et cetera. You've got this long to divest the company or you can't operate here. And by divest the company, the way that the law says is that you can own no more than 20%. I think it's like that's the threshold,
Oh, okay.
19% technically.
Yeah.
The Chinese government, ByteDance, has to divest to such a point where they own no more than 20% of the company, which means that 80% of the company would be owned by a US based
Entity or
owner.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the deal they were given. And look, the algorithm and the business of TikTok is lucrative, and not just from a money making standpoint, but it gives China like a direct line of here's what's going on in the United States and to any number of millions of lives, hundreds of millions of lives. And so
Right,
why would they give that up? It's not a you can't do business anymore. That's not why it's valuable to them. This
right.
is this is an asset. This is not kind of like a just a revenue generating thing. They're not looking at this
No.
from a business perspective. They have no incentive to divest from this company, and they basically have won this game of chicken because our government basically passed a law and then just decided that we're
We're
not
not
gonna
gonna
follow
follow
through
it.
with it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and look, I don't even know that the bill should have passed in the first place, or whether it's worth enforcing. That's not what I'm really getting into. But I think the thing that worries me about it is that this is a thing that like people with a lot of people with bad intentions are fighting over.
Yeah,
And like,
yep,
do you want to be part of that?
yeah,
Do you want to give your time and your energy to something that billionaires are fighting over because of the influence they can wield
yeah.
once they have it.
Well,
It's
the
ugh.
unfortunately, like, the US has, we're very, very, very addicted to celebrityism, and
Yeah,
what TikTok has done has made it possible
anyone can
for
be a
non
celebrity.
yeah, exactly. So, now
Yeah.
it's the race to see who can be the next TikTok celebrity or YouTuber, whatever you wanna call it, to the point where, like, we're seeing humanity to, like, turn itself inside out, trying to strive for these, like, really empty, weird
Goals.
goals in life that don't actually mean anything or do anything. It's like on TikTok,
Yeah.
every third person that shows up when I'm just totally doom scrolling on there, they're trying to sell me like 6 different things in one 30-second ad. And they're like, "Oh, look, I happen to be wearing these yoga pants right now. Oh, look, I
It's like
happen to be
QVC on
wearing."
crack,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah.
100%, dude. It's like, and everybody shows up with their A game in terms of their energy level, and they have all these products laid out on their bed, and they're doing all this stuff from their bedroom, and I'm like, "Sure, it's making somebody some money somewhere, cool, but, I'm not sure that we're just going down a good path on that one, you know?"
Yeah, and I recognize too that Instagram Reels are for old people.
Yeah.
I get it, right? Like, because
And
some
old
people were
people are
like
redefined now, like, somebody
right,
who's old is like
35.
yeah, you're
35
ancient if
years
you're
old. You're
35 to
ancient.
the kids nowadays, yeah.
So, like, I get it, right? And so Instagram, I think Reels is not an acceptable because some people are like, "Why don't you just go to Instagram? Like, what do you care if TikTok disappears? Get over it. Go to Instagram." It's like, well, because Instagram is not
It's not the
TikTok.
same,
It's just a
yeah.
very different vibe. Like, TikTok is like I mean, for an old like myself, TikTok feels unhinged in ways that I can't properly describe because I guess I'm so out of touch with popular culture, and because I haven't probably spent enough time letting it learn enough about me to
Yeah.
where it doesn't feel unhinged anymore. Because right now, it's like what you said. It's like it just
It's
feels
just
like an endless
crazy,
sales
yeah.
pitch or bad jokes
Yeah,
or people who think that they can be on, like, SNL or something like that and have
yeah,
no business doing sketches or skits or whatever like that. Just some of the worst
yeah,
you talk about cringe, like, the people doing their absolute best to be funny for other people, that there's a sadness to that
Yeah.
that I won't even get
There's a
into
lot of
right now.
forced comedy going on, that's for sure.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, so it could tell. So, like, I'm in Alabama, and so it was just like, here's every trite, awful Southern stereotype, and like Southerners playing into it on purpose that you could. I was like, closed. Never
Yeah,
mind.
that's
Sorry,
totally.
that was my bad. That was my bad. I shouldn't. I shouldn't have even opened it in the first place. Um, but it's to your point, the incentives, the the thing that's interesting to me about TikTok that it did that YouTube had not done and that Instagram had not done. Instagram, remember, tried to get rid of like likes and tried to make
Yeah,
it like, who knows how these posts are doing, right? We're just going to remove visible engagement entirely.
yeah,
YouTube, and it wasn't so long, it was maybe 5 years ago where my nephews were talking about YouTube and wanted to be YouTubers and they want to be streamers and they want to do this and they want to do that, and they were all about the grind and they were always, let's do this and let's do that. And it's like it was known that you had to work really, really hard. And you still do on YouTube. You've got
7
to put
days
in
a
a
week,
lot of
dude.
work
Yeah, if you wanna make a
to
living,
get, you want to make a video that gets 150,000 views. Do you know like the years you got to put into YouTube to kind of like know how to make one
how
of
to
those
even get
videos?
to that point in a somewhat efficient manner. Yeah, exactly.
TikTok was like, "Oh, is this your second video? How about 3 million views?"
Yeah, bam, done.
So, they own that person now,
Yeah,
because that person's never going to stop making TikToks. Like,
yeah,
you just on the second shot and on something that is probably not even that interesting
yeah,
on its face, they just were like, "You're a star."
yeah. First, it's total,
You
like,
know?
it's total drug dealer too. It's like, the first one's free. Post that video, and we'll randomly just open up your video. We'll drop it in the main river over here so everybody can see it, but just for 5 minutes. And then you'll come back to your phone and be like, "Dude, 3 million views, what?" And then you start buying a bunch of gear and, like, coming up with a new plan to do a bunch of videos and stuff, and then you're a slave to it, but you're not getting nearly as many views as you did that one time when they turned on the crackhead supply for you, right?
That's right. That's right. And
And
you're
then
just now you're just, and I've heard creator after creator, even some that have found success there and have kind of figured out how to replicate the success, but like they start chasing A, they start chasing the success, and then they start chasing like, all right, what was the process? What did I do?
yeah,
So they have to like, it's almost kind of like rediscovering how they made this thing. And so then they're able to do it. But what that does is then it starts to be like, well, I've got to do this to remain successful, which means I can't do literally anything else.
yeah, every day. You have no social life. Uh,
Well, not even just that. What if you wanted to make this type of a video? No.
no, yeah, because
The
that's out of
algorithm,
line with the thing
right.
that's
That's not what
churning
you
the
do.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Your whole thing is you do funny voices for people's pet videos they send you.
Yeah,
That's your thing.
yeah,
And you are never allowed to I mean, look, I love the dude that does those Rockstar or whatever his name is. He like, again, it gets reposted to Instagram and TikTok. Like, I love that dude. He's hilarious. And like I could watch his videos all day. So this is not me like crapping on him or what he does. And I hope he's making so much money. I really do.
sure, yeah,
Um it's not that. It's just that that's what troubles me about it is that what if he wanted to do like something else? And it's unclear if, like, if
yeah,
you could do it, would it be a risk to his now income? And I'm sure that's a huge part of his income.
yeah,
I just don't, we've had this conversation before about, like, what does it mean to be a photographer or a videographer or a wedding, photographer or videographer today? It means that you're not just those things, you're also incentivized to be an influencer
mhm,
and to give people advice on how to do those things.
yeah,
And the whole thing incentivizes gatekeeping
right.
in a weird way,
Yeah, all of a
you
sudden,
know?
everybody on TikTok's got a frickin' sales funnel program.
Or some random advice on like, here's the correct way if you're a photographer to make a reel.
Yeah,
And you're like, in a normal world that functions with logically, if you're a photographer, You're just, like, posting still photos.
Right.
But then the platform goes, "Yeah, but still photos don't really get the engagement that we're
So
looking
here,
for.
add
So,
some
do you have
music
any
to your
videos?"
yeah, add some
Right.
music to your still photo so it becomes technically a video.
So then we've gotta come up with some kind of game to figure out, well, how do I stay true to the thing that I'm actually doing
Yeah.
and make it to where people actually see it? So, here's the exact magical formula on how to make a photography-focused reel. First, you'll do a video of you holding the camera in front of your phone. Click, 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 and then you'll put in the photo that you took.
Uh,
What? Why don't you I just can I just look at the photos?
no, absolutely not.
Like, right. And the answer to that question is no. Like,
Yeah,
even if that's what you wanted, it's not what the majority. So
yeah,
it 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 and it spawns other weird. So now you've got you used to have, like, just photographers and creatives doing crazy good work, and then those people become to get their work seen by more people, they become influencers, and then a lot of them completely lose it altogether, and they're like, "Well, actually, I don't do photography anymore. I'm just an influencer who tells other people how to do
yeah,
photography."
yeah,
The
they don't
lucky
even
ones that
actually
keep their
shoot
soul.
anything. Exactly, dude.
Some of them are able to keep their soul where they find the balance, right? Where, like, I'm a
Right.
photographer and I do this just because it's fun and I enjoy helping other people, or I enjoy doing the videos and the photography. But a lot of folks who may have been here's the troubling thing. There's a lot of younger people who are going to want to do photography or who want to do videography or do something else creative, and they're going to think that they can't because they don't know how to do a viral reel or they don't know how to do a
Yeah,
TikTok.
yeah,
And that, I mean,
that's
that
yeah,
that's troubling. Like that
yeah.
is
You don't want it to you don't want it to kill the demands of, like, serving an algorithm and doing content. You don't want that to kill, the one of the most important aspects of being a creative is curiosity and
Mhm,
exploration, with no boundaries. And it's like
right.
if you're beholden to this lifestyle of creating stuff so that it goes out at a certain time and it's for certain people and it looks and sounds a certain way. And if you let one day slip, that could mean $562 of money you don't get at the end of the month because you didn't post that one day. It's like that's going to turn everybody into a bunch of like burnout content creator robots. And all of a sudden, like, they're not gonna learn anything new. They're not gonna, like, they won't be like, "Yeah, you know what? I wanted to learn a new instrument, but I have 15 guitar videos that I have to get loaded up and do this thing, even though I've really been wanting to learn how to play the ukulele, but I just don't have time." And then are they gonna wait till they're, like, 65 or 70 years old to, like, learn the
Right.
ukulele now because they don't have
Yeah.
the energy or the time and now they're finally retired? Like, I don't wanna wait to explore other sounds and things in my studio just because I'm beholden to some content machine.
I mean, have
It
you
ruins
eh,
it.
just stop and think about anyone who has transcended the internet celebrity. Just think about it. Someone who was this and then now they're this. Justin Bieber making YouTube videos when he was 12.
Is that how we got started?
Yeah, he was
Oh,
on
okay.
YouTube. Do you think Justin Bieber makes YouTube videos anymore?
Yeah, no.
No. Do you think anyone, just, I'm sure that some celebrities do, every once, but do you think that they're like thinking about like, ooh, what would be a good TikTok I could make today? Like maybe some of them, but like think of a massive music artist or a massive movie star or anyone who has again transcended that I'm an internet celebrity and I have this many followers.
Yeah,
As soon as they get beyond it where they can just focus on the music or the movie or the art or whatever it is that they're doing,
yeah.
they will drop it like that
Oh,
because it
yeah.
is so time
And
consuming.
I've seen it with artists too, where, like, you see them up and coming and they got big because they got discovered on social media. And then when they get big and they start touring and they got all the success, they're making money, they're able to be creative, they got a marketing team behind them, like all this
Right.
other crap. All of a sudden, all those videos and shit, like, they go away.
Yeah.
They completely stop
You're
making them
absolutely
and they're
right, man.
doing
The
something
volume
completely
falls.
different. They're like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad that my voice or my guitar playing or whatever rescued me from being a content creator." I mean, what a great feeling to know you can get up in the morning from working you go from working 7 days a week trying to churn out content to, like, a team just does it for you, and you just show up to places and shoot videos, and they edit it and publish it and make sure it's all working correctly, and you're like, "Alright, I'm gonna go take a nap now and then have a latte by the infinity pool in my 3rd house in Hawaii," or whatever,
Right.
it's like
Yeah, I mean, and again, look, I don't wanna most of my beef comes with the bite-sized, force-fed,
yeah,
"You will look at this because this is what" not because you were looking for it, but because we have decided this is what you will
you will be
watch.
served this.
The swiping stuff, that's where
Yeah,
most of my beef was.
yeah,
I don't wanna because there are tons of YouTube creators that I personally watch and enjoy, and you can tell that they are fulfilled, that they work hard, but they're not, like, burned out
yeah,
because they've been going for 10 years, or whatever it is, and they've found a balance, a work-life balance of, like, "I make 2 videos a month, and I'm still, making enough money to do this, and I'm super happy, blah, blah, blah." There's
yeah,
tons of those people.
yeah.
So I'm not saying, like, they don't exist or that's not a thing or it's like but, like, that bro, that is half of 1%?
But the mentality of being obsessed with
Yes.
making a living at it and beating everybody in terms of, like, likes and engagement and stuff, and you're just chasing that, that's like a, mental death sentence to me, you know?
Well, and it right? So, like, you've got the people who are making those decisions or making that type of comment or putting that type of content
Yeah,
out into the world because they are chasing likes and views and stuff like that. And then you've got the people who are just consuming that content.
right.
And then now they think that is how a normal person communicates with other people.
Yeah, I know.
So then
And
they
the
just
kids
become
are all
take
seeing that,
machines
dude.
themselves. Right. And
Yeah,
they just become take machines. Like
yeah,
there's no nuance to any argument. It's all, well, that's stupid or this sucks or I hate that or why didn't they do this? God,
yeah,
what a bunch of
yeah,
morons. Like that's like everything goes through that filter
yeah.
of
Absolutes,
that's what I have
basically.
to do to get people's attention.
Yeah,
But
100%. I will say, though, that, like, so a friend of mine who's a nurse, she works in a NICU and deals with all kinds of crazy situations with little babies and preemies and stuff like that. She said where TikTok has been a positive, and I agree with this, is it's made it really easy for everyday people to rally together with other everyday people for good causes.
yeah.
So she has a group on TikTok that's all nurses, and they've actually been able to, like, make some headway for where they work and stuff like that, making an impact by having these bigger discussions and then bringing some of these discussions to, like, management and administrators and stuff like that too, because they're those people are so out of the loop with what's going on in reality. And so the nurses have all been like sharing content. Here was my experience in my ER over here and how we were running out of supplies for that. And, so there's like little nichey stories like that that I think are great. And the other thing that I
Mhm.
like too is if I see a headline show up on a regular, like a more mainstream news outlet that affects human beings negatively, the fires, the whatever. One thing I like about TikTok and it's way more prevalent on TikTok than it is on Instagram is you can get like legit man on the street footage of what's actually going on. And sometimes there's
Yeah,
people
well,
on there that are full of it for sure. Not everybody's telling the truth. But sometimes it's like, wait, the fires, like for the Palisades fire, I just started searching on TikTok for Palisades fire and I was like seeing
yeah.
all kinds of discussions about it and things like that that you were never gonna be able to see anywhere else, and that was
Meta has made it
interesting.
very clear very recently that they are not into being a place where you come to talk about what's going on right now in the world.
Yeah,
TikTok has its own moderation values or whatever, but
sure,
they don't moderate based on things that they moderate based on kind of like the like curse words or words
sure.
that the
Kind of
Chinese government don't approve of or
the
stuff like
more the
that.
more binary stuff, that's like
Right.
yeah,
Right, which is like moral. almost,
Right, right.
black or white, but, like, the stuff that they don't involve themselves with is the political. They don't involve themselves with the kind of the current events type thing. Like they
Yeah,
want it to be something that people are having up to the minute conversations on.
yeah,
Whereas Meta does not want that at all in
yeah,
any of its apps,
yeah,
except for maybe
TikTok's cool.
Facebook.
One thing I like about it too is you get the everyday person's take on things. You know, what's their take on this thing that happened in the news,
Yeah,
and that's kind of it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it's complete horse and then other times it's like, I'm really
yeah.
glad I actually got to hear that person's perspective. I didn't even think about it that way.
At its best, it is a video call with the world
Yeah.
that's always going.
Yeah, you can check in on any topic you want, see what get a good barometer on like a pulse on where
Yeah.
people are at with stuff in the general population instead of what celebrities and media news outlets and politicians have to say because we know that that's like 99% agenda based. So,
But the negative to that is that it makes it super easy to gossip about people and talk behind their back
yeah,
and
and
make fun of other people
create
and
drama
create discord.
and disparage everybody. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
downside. Yeah.
So it's like it's all that stuff. And again, I'm not, I do empathize a little bit with the free speech kind of arguments. Um, but at the same time, I mean, like, this is a private company.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's a
you know,
company. It
so
that's
your
it.
First Amendment right is not being
Yeah,
infringed by, this private
exactly.
company. Now you could argue, well, the government should never get involved in the speech issue. It's not really a speech issue; it's a defense issue. Well, whatever. I mean, you can have that political argument 15 different ways, but like, I I don't personally think that TikTok is going anywhere. I think it'll survive all of this. I just think at this
There's
point
too
it's
much
kind of too
money.
big to fail.
There's
Yeah.
when something is making that much money and taking off on its own, somebody is gonna make sure that it does not go down. Like, there's already been
Yeah.
multiple articles I read of, Mr. Beast talking to, like, multiple billionaires to pool enough money to
He doesn't
actually
have the
acquire
capital.
it. He doesn't, but he has the connections to a lot of money. So,
He's got connections, but like at the same time, who if again, this whole thing hinges on TikTok's survival in the United States will hinge on whether or not ByteDance actually wants to divest. If they choose that they don't find a buyer
right.
that they can manipulate, they're not gonna sell,
Yeah.
and they don't have any incentive to. So, if TikTok survives and it's successfully purchased by some US-based billionaire, it will be somebody or some group that ByteDance can tell what to do so that
Yeah.
they still have access to the thing that matters to them.
Yep.
My whole thing is like I think that that's the most likely thing. So
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how, but like the I think the biggest thing is that over time, I just hope people start having more of those meaningful kind of conversations.
Yeah.
And there's so many people on all of these platforms that are putting out the right type of energy,
Yeah.
and are looking for various types of feedback and diverse opinions and stuff
Dude,
like that, and are
I
using it
have
for the
found
right.
so many people on there that one thing I like about it too is it reminds us that there's a huge chance that there's more people in this country that are on the same page that aren't.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
100%.
gray area exists and it is the biggest piece of this Venn diagram, regardless of like what the news is telling us or trying to sway us into believing, you know. So it's like
Right.
I've met uh I tend to be pretty moderate. I might lean slightly left, but like I've met
Mhm.
conservatives that are super awesome on there. I've met way more moderate liberals, which is very refreshing for me. But people generally that I'm starting to connect with on there, we have different opinions about stuff, but we kind of typically have the same moral compass. We're just choosing a different path
I
to
think, yeah,
get
the
there,
majority of
and
Americans do.
yeah, and that is something that TikTok is good at reminding us of. is that there's a lot of us that have more in common than not, and that is, like, a really important thing that, politics and media outlets are trying to drown out. They don't want
Right.
us to know how much gray area there is with all of us.
Sure. I mean, and I think too, we were talking about before we started recording, like the importance for both of our generations whenever we were growing up to, distrust whatever authority hands down
Yeah,
and to use your critical thinking skills. And I think that, like, guys, if you're looking at something on TikTok and it looks like it's if it feels off, trust that.
yeah,
Don't just ignore it. Don't just accept it. My wife came home the other day and said that there was a rumor going around at work that it was good. Like, so here in Alabama, the last time it snowed was literally, I think, 2009,
right.
something like that.
Yeah,
Okay, it doesn't happen very often.
yeah.
So it snowed, and we got like 7, 9, 8, 9 inches of snow. So it was a big snow too.
That's
So anyway,
crazy, yeah.
and it shuts down everything, like, because we don't have the infrastructure to kind of deal with it. So anyway, where my wife works, she's like, there was a rumor going around that it was going to snow again next week, and I was like, a rumor? She was like, yeah, they were all like, it's going to snow again next week,
Did you look at your
and I was
weather
like,
app?
did no one look at the weather?
Yeah,
And she was like, I thought the same thing. It's like, but guys, that's where we're at.
yeah,
Like, oh well, I heard so and so say. It's like, that person's not a meteorologist.
yeah, th
What is, like, so that's where a lot of my frustration comes
yeah,
from, is kind of like, we're just blindly out here trusting stuff because we saw 3 people agree on it
yeah,
on the on TikTok.
yeah,
So, I think we would, like, a whole lot of good would just be done by exercising those critical thinking skills. Stop trusting so much. Stop
yeah,
just accepting what you're given
yeah,
by these apps and these platforms, and do it your way. Like, think through it, argue
yeah.
with it. I'm not saying to put more of the negativity or the more of the, like, actuallys, because we've got enough of that too.
Critical
I'm just
thinking
saying, like,
has nothing to do with being negative, in my opinion.
no, it
You're
doesn't.
just
It doesn't.
you're just seeking the truth, and you should always seek the truth, and you should never believe everything. If you should never believe anything, if don't take anything at face value. Like,
Right.
make things, whether it's an app or whatever, make it earn it from you. Like,
Yeah.
don't just hand yourself over to all this stuff, and that includes, like, spending energy arguing with somebody online. Or
Oh god,
the
yes.
other thing
You
is, and I was finding myself doing this, right? So I'm total empath. So I get warm fuzzy feelings when I say something nice to somebody and it makes them feel good, right? So that makes me feel good. But I started to find on the internet, I was liking and commenting supportive things on people that were going through struggles or they had some good things going on. But every time I was engaging with these people online, which there are hundreds of people to engage with online every day constantly, I was depleting those
Mhm.
same good energies and good vibes that I should be saving for, like, the people that are here close to me, that I people that I
Sure.
live with, my friends. Like, that's where I
Mhm.
should be going. I should go out and have a beer with my homie and be like, "Dude, I'm so happy for you, blah, blah, blah." Not
That works on the outrage too. It works the same way with the outrage. Like,
You're
I mean,
totally
you
right.
can spend, you could look, it's mental and emotional capital, and we only, as people, we only have so much of it.
Every day, yeah,
So,
and in life, we only have
where are
so
you
much.
spending it?
Yeah,
Do you wanna spend it
exactly.
on internet strangers, or do you wanna spend it on self-care and taking care of the people around you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about all the stuff that occupies our brains now, it's like online, you can have simultaneously at any given moment, you can have 50 conversations going that are in various like stages of the conversation. And you're thinking about them while you're not even there talking to the person. Like that we never dealt with that before the internet. It was like I'm only having a conversation and putting thought into the conversation that I'm having right now with you in this
Right.
room. Yes, or us or whatever. But like now we're just burning ourselves out. So this is where we gotta be really careful about how much we're willing to output out there, not for security reasons necessarily, but our own like personal health, because you can
Right.
give it all away. You can give the baby and the bathwater away, no problem. If you let the internet do it to you, it'll just suck it all out of you until you get to your bed at
100%.
night and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in a coma."
Read a book.
Yeah. Dude, I tried that the other day where I, put my phone down and I just like, "I'm gonna pick up this book. I'm just gonna read a few pages." I don't have any expectations. And if I stayed on my phone and just kept playing video games or scrolling through stuff, I would have probably been awake for another 3 hours, but the fact that I was trying
Right.
to read a book, dude, I got sleepy in, like, 15 minutes. Like,
Sounds like a book.
I
I'm just kidding.
know.
No, but, like no, I'm the same way. It's like, some of that too, like, one of like, a legit, uh, life hack is look, I love one of my favorite things is my Kindle, and,
Yeah,
like, I mean, not to just to say that the Kindle is I mean, you whatever e-reader you wanna talk about, but, like, I mean, just it's a front lit device, not a backlit device, so it's not shining the light into your face, it's shining it onto the page, almost kind of like if you were using, like, a book light on a printed page, so even just that, getting that blue light out of your face or getting
yeah,
that just kind of that digital screen and that scroll and the interaction of just kind of
yeah,
like the thing that made the iPhone fantastic is the thing that has made all smartphones addictive, which was that just that tactile, it's all anywhere
yeah,
I wanna go, anything I wanna see, it's all just like I do this with my fingers and it
and
happens
you
on the
get a
screen.
dopamine hit from that.
And you get a dopamine hit. I mean, let alone the fact that they literally the motion, it's a little bit different, but it's not the pull to refresh motion, which is addictive in itself like a slot machine. But it's
Yep,
the same thing. It's a slot machine.
yeah,
You don't know what you're going to get, and that is addictive
yep,
and delightful because your brain is kind of wired to be like to keep going until it finds whatever it wants to
yeah,
find.
and
And then
then
once it found it, it'll continue to
yeah,
search for that
exactly.
feeling again,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
Yeah.
total drug, dude. It's
Put it down, read a book or grab a Kindle and just try to be more mindful. I don't even really know how the hell we've gotten onto this part of it where we're basically telling people to switch to a dumb phone. But hey, do that if that works.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I just think I would love a little bit more kind of like
yeah.
just
Well, man,
ask
yeah,
questions, put the phone down, go do something else for a little while, and
yeah.
we would all be better off.
I went down
And for photographers and videographers especially, like,
yeah, just bring your
put the
camera.
phone down and just bring
Just go
the phone
shoot some photos, man.
there are people literally on threads asking, "Is it okay if I just wanna take photos and not post them on the internet?"
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, you could do
Yeah,
that,
in
like, that's
fact,
cool.
that's the more important thing to do, just so you know. That's what you're
It's
supposed
like,
to do,
yeah, but
like
how will anyone know that I bought
yeah.
this Leica Q3 if I don't let everybody know that I own a Leica Q3.
Dude, if I sit
And
down
look, I'm not picking
yeah.
on Leica folks. Okay, that's not a I'm just saying
You're saying they're a bunch of
there's a
snotty
Venn
assholes,
diagram
aren't you? I
here.
knew it. I knew it.
There's a Venn diagram here of the people who would be incentivized to buy the Leica because they would get extra internet points for it being a Leica. I'm not saying that.
Well, that's
If
true.
if I could afford the Leica, then I would have the Leica.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, the same thing applies to my camera of choice, Fuji. Like, there's all kinds of people who are, they're chasing the internet points that
Yeah, well,
Fuji
yeah.
gives you, or Sony, or whatever else, these communities and everything. But like, yeah, I mean, just take the camera, leave the phone at home,
Yep.
uh,
For
or or take your phone and use it as a camera, but only as a camera. If you
yes.
have I don't have that discipline,
Yeah,
the
I don't
self
either.
control.
That's
I wish
I
I
don't
did.
either. That's like I'd rather just load up my Canon 5D, throw a memory card in there, and just go like shoot some stuff, leave my phone in the car.
You know how many times I've put the Kindle app on the home screen of my phone, just thinking like, I'll see I have the phone in my hand already.
Yeah.
So when I go, oh, I need to stop doing this and I need to read a little bit, I'll switch. Nope.
No, you just
Nope.
go back to the other
Just
crap,
go back
dude.
to the other thing.
It's so ridiculous. I know, like, I
It's
come into my
crazy.
studio, and I can't remember the last time this is super sad. I can't remember the last time that I came in and just plugged in a guitar, turned on the amp, and just started playing, and then left when I was done. Because 'Cause I'm always like, "Okay, So if I'm gonna do this, that means I gotta record it, and I'm gonna make sure it sounds okay because I'm gonna also video. I'm gonna record myself playing it, and I need to make sure my lighting is. And all of a sudden, I've just completely robbed myself of the
Mhm.
joy of playing guitar and hearing noises coming out of an amplifier.
Because there's something in the back of your head, and you know this as the social media guru type guy is, well, should I waste the time on guitar and not take any video of it so that I can, get a reel up today?
Exactly. I need to stop that, or at least set boundaries. Like,
And that's not coming from a place of judgment. That's coming
no,
from a like, I that's me going, "Does that happen to you?" I mean,
no.
like, I
Bro,
honestly am
right
sure it
now, I'm
does.
sitting in the support group right now. You and I are sitting in the support group saying, "Hi, my name's Rich. I have a problem,"
That's
like,
right.
yeah.
I mean, but I get it. It makes sense, but here's the thing, though, is that you're good at that too, and so I think there's a little bit of you that can justify, "This is creative too," and it is,
Yeah,
but is it more work than it is creative? Because
yeah,
the purely creative thing for you to do, the thing that you know you love to do, that you truly enjoy, is playing the guitar. Everything else that keeps you from playing the guitar, that is what you have to strip away. I mean,
yeah,
it's like I was talking to one of the folks that works as a sound engineer for really big artists, and we were talking about just curiosity, like, what's it like working with this person? They're just like, wow. It was one of those people that you're just like, man, what would it be like to be in a room with that person when they're working, when they're
yeah,
like making something new?
yeah,
And this person, as a sound engineer, I mean, their whole job is basically to enable creativity, right? So,
right.
like, to do all of the stuff for them that they don't want to do, so that if this artist turns around and goes, I need a maraca,
Yeah,
is the maraca around? That's one of their jobs. And then there's the job of like, I need this sound. I was listening to uh, you know, a Coltrane album and I heard this. How do we do that?
yeah,
I want that in this, in
yeah,
the back, on this side, right? So it's like that's they're like it's something pops into the brain. The engineer in a lot of cases is like the person that's kind of like, oh, we can figure that out. Like, let's figure that out so that then
totally.
they can just do it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, and again, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You get to a certain spot to where you can focus purely on the art and the creativity, and you want to stay in that mode as long as possible. All this other stuff,
yeah,
like the reels and the marketing, the support function, like we get so distracted with the support function because it's the visible part of it that we're
right.
starting to confuse the art with the promotion of the art.
Yeah. And,
And
I'm a marketing
it's tough.
guy, and
Yeah.
I'm very outgoing with shared experiences and stuff like that online, and, um, I've been told by some people on LinkedIn, even though my music stuff is completely irrelevant to LinkedIn, but the fact that I even post some music stuff on there, a lot of people are like, "Hey, man, I've never seen somebody do stuff in a studio before. I've really been enjoying your videos and just like checking them out." And they watch them all the time and interact with them. And so that makes me feel
Right.
good because I'm like, cool, you're getting a positive experience out of me doing something and awesome, but
And that's a drug in and of
it
itself.
is. It is. I'm totally addicted to, like, doing things that make people feel good or, like, that they enjoy. It's what I love to do, right? So but I
Mhm.
also gotta make sure that I give the middle finger to all of that sometimes and just, like,
Sometimes.
plug in a guitar or, like, go rent a studio and set up my drum set for 2 hours and just go bananas in there and do not record it. Just don't. Be alone with it. Like, when
Yeah.
I went down to the wharf in Santa Cruz the other night, left my phone at the house, which is like 20 minutes away, and I was like, "Huh, how do I feel about that right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna go take a walk on the wharf." So I look at the stars, walk into a little ice cream shop, get a cappuccino and an ice cream cone, and just walk around. And it was I had this amazing feeling where just for that moment there was no internet. in
Mm.
existence. It was just me walking around in the breeze, eating food, tasting things, enjoying what's going on around me, and then eventually I get back in my car, get home, and, get my phone again, but, like, it was a very blunt reminder that I need to just do that for myself more often. We all should,
I
you know?
It's such an interesting thought exercise too, and I'd love to hear if anyone else agrees because I'm in the same boat. Like, I remember getting on America Online, like, I'd getting on AOL at, like, 6 or 7 AM in the morning when I was, like, 10 years old because the phone rang too much during the day, to where it would kick you off if the phone rang.
Yeah,
Or you would have to get off because mom and dad want to answer the phone, and when you picked up the phone, this is when the phone line was literally your internet connection. You
yeah,
would pick up the phone and be like, "Gee, gee, gee, gee." Okay, so it was a bunch of racket, and so your parents would get off the internet, and you have to sign off, and then the phone line would be free again.
yeah,
So I would get up super early so that I could, go to Nickelodeon.com or whatever the hell I was looking at as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old on the internet. Um, and like I remember thinking, being so excited about everything that it meant in terms of like being able to communicate and to chat. Like instant messenger was a major part of my middle school life.
oh, yeah,
Chatting on the internet after you get
yeah,
home from school and getting on AIM and talking to friends and stuff like
AIM,
that. People you
yeah,
didn't talk to at school. I was talking to people that I did not talk to at school
oh,
uh,
yeah,
on AIM.
yeah.
Person to person, like having individual conversations, and then we would act as if we didn't know each other when we got to school the next day. Super strange. But like,
That's because kids
and
are
again, I
weird.
remember being so hopeful and loving it, and I loved it. I loved the internet up until probably I guess 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and
Social
I'm not
media,
saying that it peaked, but there's definitely that is that it coincides with kind of like the rise and I think Facebook in particular ruined the internet for me, and I mean, I haven't been on Facebook in years, but it's like, it would be nice to feel hopeful about it again,
yeah.
and to your point, I relate heavily to the, what if what if it just what if that wasn't a thing?
What if it
What if
just
what if we had
wasn't
to wait
there?
for stuff?
Yeah,
What if every video on the face of this planet wasn't available to my 8-year-old to watch? Uh
yeah.
what if she couldn't demand to watch Christmas shows in the middle of the summer, and then I had to come up with some kind of, like,
BS
for
excuse.
why we're not going to do that, right?
Yeah,
Stuff like
yeah,
that. So, I mean, like, and again, all of that's kinda beside the point, but it's like, yeah, how do you guys feel about that? Like, if you're listening, like, do you wish the internet didn't exist? Are there times you wish the internet didn't exist? Because there's lots of times where I was just where even I think that the connectedness has also, and we've talked about this before too, whether it be Teams or email or whatever, it's created this expectation and entitlement to your time
yeah.
on behalf of other people. People think they're entitled to your time. People think that if they can't reach you, something's wrong,
I know. Well, every
you
time
know?
I call any of my friends, they think somebody died. Like
Right.
like, that's the first thought. They're like,
That's the only
"Oh,
reason that
shit, who
Rich would be
died?
calling
What
me.
happened?" I'm like, "I don't know. I was just calling you to see how
Yeah.
you're doing today." And they're like, "What?" "Oh,
What?
bro, what are we
Right,
doing
yeah,
here?"
that's the other thing. It's the whole other thing, right? The phone call is taboo, you don't do that.
Yeah, that's
It's just
emergency
it's emergencies only,
only,
or we have to
yeah,
speak to one another. And look, I'm a horrible introvert even with my friends, and so I can't really speak to any of that just because, they do try to call me, and I'm the guy that's, like, looking at the phone going,
yeah. But
"What are we gonna talk
but
about?"
you can screen it and be like, you say, "Hey, sorry, I missed your call. I got some stuff going on. I'll hit you later," or whatever, and, like, you can hit him back and give him a status, but I just
Yes, and see, I had to make myself get better about that because
yeah.
I was finally confronted by a friend who's going, "Yeah, you're just being an asshole," and I was like, "Got it. I'll do better."
Right.
Which was like,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that I have friends that can be
Could just
like, "You're being an
throw it in your
asshole." I'm
face.
like,
Yeah, totally.
"Yeah, 100%." It's like, "You're not." Well, it was a very basic, "You're not being a good friend."
Yeah. No, that's
which
legit.
and it's 100% legit, and he was absolutely right. Like, my insecurities or my social awkwardness or my introversion or whatever aside, I mean, like, are we friends or aren't we friends?
Yeah.
Because this is what this means to me. Anyway, I I think that there are times when I leave the house and I'm like, "Oh, I need to have my phone," even though I don't want it. I don't wanna bring it. I really don't. I hate having to bring it places. But I'm kinda like, "Well, what if my wife calls me?" Or what
Yeah.
if this? What if that? It has added this constant connection has not eased our anxiety.
No. But
It has increased our anxieties.
before we had our phones, though, we had pagers, and before we had that, we had nothing. So it's like you wouldn't even know what was going on until, like, you saw that person again, or maybe you decided, "Hey, I'm gonna call the house and check in, see if
Yeah.
anything's going on," but it had to be much more of a coordinated effort to do those things, but the
Well, it
whole
wasn't impossible,
yeah.
but it wasn't impossible. You could always ask to
It
use
just
somebody's
wasn't
phone.
practical at all.
Yeah,
I remember
we were fine.
my mom used to be in, sales and stuff, and she would be like, "Okay, well, I have to go pull over to I need to go find a phone booth, and then I gotta always carry a roll of quarters with me everywhere I go because I gotta call this client." So, my mom's always dressed in a pantsuit, parked at
Always.
some phone booth somewhere, just trying to work it all out, and she can't hear because there's cars around her. She's trying to talk to somebody, but they had to talk to her right now. So, take the good with the bad. I think, there's boundaries that can be set to make it easy and make it better and make it a little like a healthier version of what we
Right.
have going on right
Yeah,
now,
there's no sense, and it's like we were saying, there's no sense wasting your mental capacity
No.
on strangers on the internet. There's also no sense trying to, because I've gone down this rabbit hole, right? Like, I'm gonna get this phone that's gonna help me be more present in my life. It's like, no, you're just buying another phone, you idiot.
How about just don't have a
You're
phone?
just trying to give yourself more excuses to buy more stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other show. But like, yeah, I mean, like it's absolutely right. It comes down to that. Like, how are you spending? Try to be more mindful of how you're spending your, and I would say this goes to work life balance and everything as well.
Yeah.
You only have so much mental and emotional capital to spend on any given day.
Yeah.
Don't waste it on the internet. Don't waste it on anyone who's trying to steal your time at work. Don't waste it on things that ultimately don't matter.
Right.
You only have so much of it
Yeah.
to invest, and just
And
do it in the part that's making you happy and more productive.
another way to measure it too is like if you're on your deathbed, what
Mm,
are the top 10 things you wish you did more of or did less of? Chances are you're not going to
yeah.
say, I wish I was on my phone more.
Nope.
You're not gonna say, "I wish I did more TikTok dances," like, you unless you're a weirdo. But, like, look at
I don't
that
know.
as,
You
like, a
might say
frame of
that.
reference and be like, "Alright, cool. I don't need to do all this. I do enough of it all the time. Let's just cut it and go do something organic and real for now," There are a couple movements I've seen with some teenagers, uh, where they're really pushing to get outdoors more, and they're not really recording it and doing as much, like, footage of it. It's very rare to find, but, there is a push to get outside and do other things and not worry about who you're sharing
Yeah.
that with,
Well,
you
again, it
know?
goes back to those incentives, right?
Yeah,
It's almost like it's crept under our skin that it didn't happen
right.
unless we captured it. And look, I get it. I 100% get it. I have a kid, and I want all the pictures of her, and I want
All
all
the
the
things,
videos
all
of
the
her. I want all
activities,
of
yeah,
them. I want all of them. I wanna have I as much as we exalt, I think, the camera and creativity, we also have to remember that those things can encroach on the most important thing, which is being present
yeah.
and
Yeah.
in the
When you're
moment. And
more
it's like you
worried
said.
about recording what you're doing and which, that conversation's been going on forever about rock concerts and live
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff, but, yeah, it's like, how about you just put it down and just hug your kid when they ran across the living room for the very first time on 2 feet or whatever, So,
Yeah.
it's like, instead of yeah, if you can have somebody else film it, cool, but how about just pour all of your emotions and physical being into this moment, instead. And then you could say later, "Ah, she took her first step today. It was cool." You don't need to just be recording
I
everything all the time.
There's so many moments where I'm like, I've got a photo of it, and I don't recall it actually happening.
Yeah,
Well, I remember taking the photo of it,
yeah,
but there's something there that camera is between me and the full
exactly.
one. I could have felt this 100%.
Yeah, instead of 62% because you're trying to make
Mhm.
sure it's in focus and the framing looks okay and all this other bullshit, right?
Right.
It's just like like when I go to a show now, like a rock concert, if I wanna get a photo of it or a little video clip, I give myself half a song to get everything I wanna get, and then my phone has to be put away after that, and I'm not
Yeah.
publishing anything that night, I'm not posting anything, and then that way I got, my little nugget met with, content, but at the same time, I gave myself the breathing room to be fully physically present for the entire show, and it was awesome,
Yeah.
So,
Right.
anyhow,
Well, I think that
uh
this just points out, Zuckerberg, if you're watching, and I know you are, uh, if anything, the last 20 minutes have really just displayed how badly we need your AI glasses
so
so that
bad. I
we
need them
can
so
be
bad.
fully present, and that the AI can take our photos for us so that we get to have everything we've ever wanted, which is photos that look great and to be able to be fully immersed in the moment.
Yeah.
So, we're eagerly awaiting the Meta AI glasses that are gonna change the world.
Dude, my eagerness, next level right now. DEFCON 5
So eager.
eager,
Can't
dude.
wait.
All the eager
Boy,
right now.
no one's more eager than me.
All right, well, I think we're like an hour and 40 minutes in almost, so that's,
I can't wait to figure out what we call this one. I enjoyed this conversation immensely just because I think it's kind of like it's super pertinent to everything that's going on right now,
yes.
just kind of in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, enjoyed it, buddy.
Yeah, it was all good. Well, thanks to everybody for, watching, listening. Uh, we really appreciate it, and
Yep.
we're now that the holidays are done and we're getting back on the train here, we'll be cranking out more episodes soon. So, with that said, I'm gonna see if I can find our outro here.
You'll
Um,
get it.
somewhere there it is, I think. Is it there? I don't know. Oh, you know what? I think I found it. Thank you,
Really leaving
everybody.
all this
We'll talk to you soon.
in. Later.
Peace out.